of its ways, yeah, with a smile on my face, I'm floating on a cloud.
Hello everybody, my name is Reggie Matters with RMBIG, and welcome to the Revitalize Hope webpage. And if you are joining us on our YouTube page, RMBIG, thank you, and please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up or thumbs down and leave a comment. As always, let's keep the conversation going. Now, today I want to talk about something that I'm going to try not to make this video too long. Like I promised earlier, I know my video was running like 25-30 minutes, so I'm trying to cut that time down a little bit, especially with like the intro and outro. But you know, school shootings, and you've heard the ideas that has been brought about by some people from Congress and all that about arming teachers and all that. Well, I'm going to get straight to the point, and I want to tell you something. I was a campus safety director. I was in charge of a residential campus for a university, and I have my own thoughts and opinions on this matter, and also as well why I feel that what is being done is not enough. It's going to take more than the government to just say we're going to ban assault rifles. Now that is a start. I'm not knocking that. That is a start. Okay. Now let me get into this, and I hope I don't offend anybody. I think what the kids did in Florida is really great because it showed that the students took a stand. I wish we had more kids across the United States that took a stand when something didn't happen directly to affect them, and for everyone to unite. But that's not knocking the kids in Florida. Something happened. Now they want something done. Understandable, and something should be done. Now, here's my views on all this. The United States of America has so many guns out there, it's going to be almost impossible to get them all back. So yes, you can do a ban on assault rifles, but people are not going to turn over their guns that they paid $800 or $1,000 or $2,000 for. They're not going to give their guns up. They are not. They're going to hold on to their guns and they're going to hide them. Now, it's possible, because I know the police is not going to go checking house to house. Hey, you know, you have these guns. They're just going to say, I got rid of them, or put them somewhere else, you know, move them. So, you know, it's so many guns in this country that's just out right now. Banning them is just, it's a start. I think it is a start. Make it illegal to own an assault rifle. I agree with that. But I think it was Rubio said that, oh, people are going to get them if they want to. No, the fact is, you taking the initiative to lessen the opportunity for people to have them. Now you're really going to have to start dealing with the fact that people that do have them, what are you going to do about that? You know, or do they have to turn them in? Or I know in Los Angeles, you know, they had this whole thing about we will buy your gun from you to try to help get some guns off the street. So is the government going to do that? But you got some people out here that are so into guns that they are not giving their guns up. They are not going to give their guns up. Okay, now here's what I can tell you about this. I think there needs to be a ban on assault rifles. I agree with that, like I said. But, you know, the other thing that I feel needs to take place is this. You know, we do need stronger control on gun laws. We need, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I feel that the fact that the National Gun Association, the NRA, I think, contributes so much money to these Senate and council and these government officials that it's going to be very difficult to get them to go against the NRA. It's going to be tough because it's money involved, and they are paying for some of these laws not to be passed. That's just the truth. It's the truth. It is what it is. You know, that's why I don't feel like government officials should be accepting money from some of these big corporations, because I really feel like it's not about them believing in what they say they're going to do. Is buying. They are basically buying a candidate that if this comes up, this policy comes up, this law comes up, you're going to squash it. Honestly, that's what I feel. But back to the topic. There need to be So when it comes to schools, okay, I'm talking strictly about schools now. I know there's guns all over the country, community cities and all that stuff, but I'm talking strictly about schools. Here is my issue. As a campus safety director, okay, I had a residential campus. Now, I was not given, it was very difficult for me to get adequate staffing. There were some days now, you got to realize that we would have up to 5,000 to 10,000 students, at nighttime, just on campus alone. You had a party in a Greek house that would have anywhere up to 5,000 people in one house. And trust me, these are not big houses. So, the fact is, a lot of these schools are not allocating resources to the security and police departments. And that's what I think needs to be looked at. Because if you have a department to where, put it like this, and I'm going to be upfront with you. My budget was $20,000. I was the emergency coordinator. I was responsible for the EPA, all environmental assets. I was responsible for the entire safety department, fire alarm systems, and my budget at first was $35,000. Okay, let me get this right. Yeah, my budget first was $35,000. Then my budget got cut to $20,000. Mid-semester, my safety budget was cut to $10,000. That was my operation budget, $10,000. Now, that included supplies, that included all the operational need, vehicles, inspections, maintenance, resources and tools for the officers, $10,000. So how are we supposed to get camera systems? How are we supposed to get, additional training for the officers? How am I supposed to hire more staffing? See, you got to understand something, if we want our schools to be safe, we want our children to feel safe, then we have to start at our local government and saying we want more funds allocated towards our safety departments in our school. We want more funds allocated. And then you need to have these schools that do have, I think schools call them resource officers. How many resource officers are attached to one school? Is it one? And that's the thing we need to start looking at. Do you have say 2 or 3 resource officers that are driving between 10 and 12 schools? And the resource officers are another version of police officers for the school system. So how many officers is there per school system? In the middle of the day with traffic, how long would it take for them to get to one school that's having an incident? We need to start looking at that we shouldn't be relying fully on the police departments, that we need to start relying on schools having their own safety officers. They need to have their own safety officers. And they need to be at the schools. So you got to start looking at staffing for that. And that's the biggest issue. If you're not funding safety aspects of an educational system, then you're setting these kids up for dangers. Okay? So you need to start funding allocating the appropriate funds to ensure that there are properly equipped safety personnel at these schools. Needs to be done. Second, now this goes specifically for colleges and universities, and I know some private schools have their own safety and security department. But for colleges and universities, no safety and security director should ever report to the dean of students. It needs to be a lawyer or someone in a legal aspect within that college administration. They should not be reporting to the dean of students. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the dean of students' primary function is students having because let me say this. Let me go back. For those of you who know the college environment, there's normally like a dean of residence life, dean of campus life, dean of student life. And this dean is responsible that kids have a good time on campus, that they feel good, that they feel welcome. You know what I'm saying? So they deal with stuff like that, student activities. And this is conflicting with their job when it comes to a safety department, because their job is to enforce rules and regulations. They want kids to come there and have fun and enjoy being at college, but they want them to be safe as well, which means they are taking an authoritative perspective over the dean of students, who are taking a compromising perspective of how can we make it better. You don't get along with your roommate? Well, let's switch your room. Let's reduce your lunch fees, or let's reduce your room rate. There's compromise involved. So whoever your safety department is, they should be reporting to either your HR department, but preferably someone with a legal background is who should be overseeing and that person should have a direct link to the president or the highest ranking official of that college or that university or that educational system. Because I'm telling you right now, I have seen it. I witnessed a dean who withheld 4 counts of sexual assault because she didn't want to report it. And it wasn't reported to the safety department. So this is why I say you need to have a safety office that reports to someone with a true legal background that has a direct line to the president, not a dean of students of residence life or campus life, but someone who has a legal background or an HR person with a legal background. Now, the other thing is there needs to be more security features in these schools. And a lot of people say, well, you know what, the schools do have, we got patrol wands where you can check. You know what? Metal detectors. I'm sorry. They got metal detectors. Do you know how easy it is to get stuff past the metal detector? Come on now. You know how easy it is. And most of those at schools in the hood, you know what I'm saying? At urban schools where black kids go, that's where they have that stuff at. So it needs to be something to where all schools are held to the same standard. Not because you're in an urban community, not because you're a black school or primarily minority school. Every school needs to be held to the same safety standards. The same safety standards. They need to start using more security features. Prox cards instead of keys, so they can quickly lock a building down or isolate a key area of the campus or the buildings. Also, drills need to be taking place with schools on what to do when there is a shooter on campus. And because you'll be surprised, so many times I tried to get a shooting drill and it was so difficult because I was actually told by the administration that they didn't want the students involved. But you need the students involved. The students need to see when the police come through and understand that when a police officer says get down, this is a serious scenario, no games, get on the ground. And you know what? Officers, especially if you got security officers who've never been involved in a shooting, they need to understand the initial shock value of those guns going off. Because you'll be surprised how many people freeze up. And it's not because they're scared, it's just that, wow, it's trying to absorb the moment and get your mind focused back. You're hearing gunshots. So your mind is now where the shot's coming from, what am I doing, people are running. You're trying to get your bearings straight. You're trying to get your mind, your psychological aspect back together to deal with the situation and do what you need to do. So there needs to be training that's inclusive of everybody. Everybody needs to be a part of that training. And I'll be honest with you, I think that training needs to take place twice a year. Twice a year, every school needs to have that training. Elementary schools, once schools have started, I don't feel like nobody should be able to enter that school and get down a hallway without passing past a security door. If you're waiting on the child, you cannot get down the hallway. They will have to bring that child out to you. Special permission would be needed for a parent to come to their school and get behind those doors. And it's not a prison because you're keeping people out. You're not keeping the students in. But here's the thing that people got to realize too. When you're talking about making a place safer, everybody talking about, well, we're going to have to make this place like a prison. You know what? If you really want to make schools safe, that means you're going to have to do some things that's going to inconvenience people. And I'm going back to the place I last worked as a campus safety director. You know, the dean of students, the dorm that was built was a new dorm. And when this was done, we intentionally wanted where you had to use a swipe card to get in the building, and every individual floor had another swipe card. You had to actually use your PROS card to get down the hallway to the rooms. And we did that because we knew that there are times when somebody may walk in, they might swipe in, the door opens. Once they get to the elevator, another person might say, you know what, let me shoot the door. When I say shoot the door, I mean, when I say that, I mean, they're thinking like, okay, I'm gonna let them get in. I'm gonna run, grab the door and go in behind them. Well, if they're trying to get up, that other person can get up, get in the hallway and close the door versus somebody saying, oh, I can just, once I'm in the building, I got access to the entire building. It's like, no, you get in the building, you still can't get down the hallways unless you have an access card. But the dean of students decided that she thought it was too much an inconvenience, removed all of the access programming from the inside of the building as far as the hallways are concerned. And of course, what happened? A young lady got raped. And I kept thinking to myself, what would have happened if that one safety feature was not disabled without proper thought or proper, asking like, hey, what do you think about doing this? I would have said no. Get information. So that's why I say we need to make sure that the proper features are there, safety features are there, and we need to be understanding that if we want to make our schools safer, it's going to be some inconveniences. I'm sorry. It's going to be some inconveniences and it's going to cost money. But what do we value more? We should be valuing life, especially our younger generation who are trying to go to school, get an education. Then the only way to do that is you're going to have to implement safety features and just explain the fact, listen, this may be somewhat of an inconvenience at times, but it's for your safety. The other thing, you have a lot of places, a lot of schools now are developing these programs to where basically when a student is exhibiting strange behavior, it's supposed to be reported to what would be like these group of counselors or a group of staff members that would kind of talk about the student, discuss the behavior, and eventually they'll be called in to intervene or talk with the student, or maybe determine, okay, well, you need to go see a school counselor to get some advising, try to find out what's going on. Let me tell you why that's a big failure. I'm gonna tell you why. Because the process is extremely slow. There is no standard for determining what is threatening or bad behavior. It's just random. I mean, because basically anybody can probably, like some schools have it on their website, some schools have it like in a form where you can actually send a message and, that's okay, we'll call the student in and talk to them. But there needs to be a more formal system implemented to actually track this stuff. And this is something to where when a student, it should be on a grading scale level. If you got a student that's had, let's say, in a 6-month period, they've had 4 to 5 violent incidents with other students. I personally feel like, okay, they had 40, they're having this many altercations. This needs to go to the police. This needs to go to the parent to let the parent know, hey, we're concerned. Your child is having these altercations that are getting more and more aggressive, or they're writing letters or emails that are getting more and more like this, exhibiting more violence or becoming a little dark or becoming a little concerning, threatening. They appear to be somewhat suicidal. So that conversation needs to be had with the parent, but also I think someone from the local police department needs to be able, or a city official who is a psychologist needs to have access to that information. So if a student they feel is like that, there need to be some guidelines set to where law enforcement says, okay, if you get a person in your school who is exhibiting A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, any of these, they need this information needs to be shared here. So they can go on a watch program that is bigger than does just a few teachers and a few counselors saying, okay, well, they seem to be fine. No, it needs to be on a bigger scale. And let's say this kid has had 4 to 5 incidents to where, he's had altercations, then the police should be able to look up his family and say, okay, well, who's his family? Where they live? Do they have any gun registered? Yes. Then you might be able to say, boom, red flag, red flag. That might be able to trigger a little more and get the police a little more eyes on that person. That's just my suggestion. That's what I'm saying. All this stuff about, I get it, I agree. Trust me, I agree. And I know somebody gonna misinterpret what I'm saying. I totally agree. Assault rifles need to be banned. I agree. 100%. But this is why I'm saying it is so much deeper than just putting out a law to ban assault rifles. This falls so much more back on the schools, on the local government, as well as the federal government to put the proper protocols in place, allocate their proper funding, and also have the proper staffing for police officers, resource officers, whatever you have for your school that is put in place to provide safety. There needs to be the adequate funding and staffing to ensure that it is there. And that is just so much my biggest gripe, because a lot of these places, I'm telling you right now, and I know this is not normal for what I normally do on this show, on my videos, but this is like a sore subject with me. And I'm about to say something. Here we go. And here's another issue I have. And this is not just applies to schools, but it applies to a lot of companies. And this is why a lot of places don't fund their safety programs. They don't fund the police officer. They don't fund the security officers. It is because they are there simply as a liability for their insurance. They are simply in place to say, listen, we had security, don't know what happened. We'll try to tighten it up. And that's basically what it's for. That's basically what it's for. It's simply a liability coverage for the insurance. Hey, if you hire 2 security people or 2 off-duty police officers, they can be 2 or 3 times a week, we'll give you an insurance cut and you're covered. They're doing the bare minimum. They're not investing in these safety protocols. They're not investing in these safety programs. They're not doing the proper training. They're not allocating the funding. They're not getting the right staffing. It is because a lot of safety personnel are hired simply just to say, we had it, we'll talk to them because they should have did it. But nobody ever goes back and look and say, okay, you say you got safety personnel. What is the funding level for these personnel? What is the staffing for this personnel? If you got 500 people, how many officers per group do you have? Because to say you got 10,000 or 5,000 people on your campus, but you got 2 security guards is not sufficient. And a lot of places are doing that. So anyway, let's work together and let's continue to support these young students who are trying to make a difference and trying to get gun laws passed to help protect and prevent this stuff from happening again. But think about the things I said and really take them to heart. I know it's a little all over the place, but this is something that I really am passionate and I know about. So thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time. And don't forget to revitalize hope in yourself and someone else today.
Here I stand with you, wishing you the best in all you do. Always look for the breeze of love, calm and gentle from above. No. yeah. Ooh, yeah, yeah. Now I know some days you may feel blue, Lord. Trust in your greatness to see you through. Don't look back, it's not the end. Give life your best and I know you can win. You see, as a friend I'm here for you. You should know that. As a friend I'm here for you. Here I stand with you, wishing you the best in all you do. Always look for the breeze of love, the breeze of love. Here I stand with you, wishing you the best in all you do. Always